Okay, Florence and Robert, thank you so much. That gives us a good overview of the two main projects. Obviously, yours, Florence, is a full project, whereas Robert's, yours is a planning grant in the hope that it'll lead to a more technical project proposal, which obviously is still awaiting feedback on. Any questions from the group? Astrid, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for these nice presentations. I'm not sure whether, the two of you now can answer this because we didn't hear about all this technical stuff, and my questions are rather technically related. First of all, I would want to know, is there any connections planned between these ALA applications to FBIS? So that I would say all African portals can talk to each other? This would be the first question. And the second question would be, because I'm also, or there was also ALA application set up in Austria, and I had the feeling that this was very time consuming and complicated. So I would want to hear about your experiences with that. How much time did it actually take to set this up? And the third question would be to Robert, but I can ask this later. So maybe Florence.
So Florence or Finian, I guess, although Florence, probably because of the sound, you might need to take it. I was also curious about the time needed to modify the ALA for local use. I mean, obviously that's, we'll hear about that in another session, but if you can speak to that, it'd be really, really useful.
Okay. Thank you for the nice questions. Actually, as you mentioned, this is a technical question. The right person who was to answer is Dr. Finan, but I will try to highlight based on what we have done so far. Adapting ALA software, they have a guidance of how to adapt it. It is freely available online, but this was possible because of the involvement of Atlas community, as I have mentioned, managed from Sweden, by Atlas of Sweden, and the Marie, who is the head of Atlas community, and also the other expert from Spain. They helped us very much to adapt the software from ALA. Regarding connection or linking it to other portals like ALA, it is possible because the basic software allows integration with the design allows integration with the other software. But what is important is to adhere to the formats of data publications. That is what I can say, but we will expect more from Dr. Finian's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Robert, the other question would be, you said that there is a freshwater hub within the portal. I was just wondering how you filter these freshwater species out of the whole, animals, plants.
Actually, our hub will be linked to the National Biodiversity Data Portal, which is being developed at DIT. And what we're actually going to do is to collect their biodiversity information, and that information will be published in our hub, and then the hub will be connected to the National Biodiversity Data Portal at DIT, and then it will be published from there. So that will be how it will be linked.
Okay, but if I approach then the national portal, it would not be possible to filter the freshwater data out of this one. I would have then to address or to go to your portal and query the freshwater data from there.
Yes, because there will be a link on the main portal, and then you will be able, you will be required to go to the hub, the freshwater biodiversity hub specifically in order to access our data.
Yeah, okay, but that means everyone who wants to publish freshwater data addresses first your hub, and then the national portal harvests this information from the freshwater hub, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's how is it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any more questions?
Sorry, Ellen.
Yes, Florence.
If you can allow me to capture the issue of time, which asked
Yes, please go ahead.
on how long it will take it to develop the ALA, which we are adopting from ALA software. We started this project in October 2019. And as I've mentioned, according to the target, we have reached about 80%. We are not developing everything that ALA has, but we are starting with the basic requirements that we need. And these are the key user requirements that we gathered during stakeholders meeting. So there are some features that we have managed to have, which are also available in ALA, but as we moved on, we'll keep on incorporating some features that are required to meet our local needs. Then we'll come to global needs. We have now used like 1.5 years to pull up the portal, and we have reached the 80% according to the target. More information will Dr. Finan will give, but we are targeting to finish what we targeted in the end of September. Thank you for that.
That's great. For those of you who've joined us late, unfortunately, the technical, Dr. Finian, who was going to present on the technical aspects of the modified ALA system for Tanzania, the connection that he had was very poor. So our proposal is to have if it suits you, next week, Wednesday, same time, have a part 2 to this series. I will just confirm with Florence if that works.
Okay.
And Finian.
Okay.
Because obviously some of the questions are very much related to the workings of the technical side, and I think it would be really good to get one of our developers from FBIS, because Astrid, one of your questions was, obviously the other system that's been used in Africa and a few countries in Africa is the FBIS system. How compatible or incompatible are these systems? I think that would be a really good technical developer discussion to have. So I'll try and rope Tim in for that session. I see does that work for everybody next week to have a part 2 of this session? It's an extra one for those who can make it. Otherwise, we'll obviously record it. But I think it'd be nice whilst it's fresh in everyone's head, because then we have talks lined up for the next month. So otherwise it's going to lose its amber. So I'd be keen to kind of just slot in an extra one and have a part 2 from today. That works for everybody. Perfect.
Okay. That's fine.
Sarah, I see you have a question for us. Want to go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mamboya and Yamungu, for your very interesting presentations. I think it was Dr. Mamboya's presentation, I got the impression that COSTECH was to enforce policy and data sharing. And I thought that because it's an authority above all the other institutions, then accessing or data sharing from the other institutions would be easy. But towards the end, I got again the disconnect that you are having issues with accessing data from institutions. Maybe I would want to understand then what is the role of COSTECH if one of their key roles was to enforce, and using the word enforce meant that they have authority to do this over the other institutions. Thank you.
Helen?
Yes.
Thank you, Cyril, for your observation and concern. Actually, as I've mentioned, COSTECH currently is the overseer of enforcing sharing and storage of biodiversity information in the country. And this came after signing of MOU between several institutions which they are dealing with the biodiversity information, including Roberts Institution, University SUA, University Dar es Salaam Institute, University, and the several other institutions and the research and the training institutions which are dealing with the biodiversity studies. They agreed on storage and sharing of information as per the MOU, but not all they abide to what they have signed. And this came, the reason behind is due to awareness that I have mentioned, that we need to engage even the top management of the institutions so that they can be aware and abide to what they have signed to allow sharing and accessibility of the biodiversity information. I hope I have responded to your question.
Sarah, you happy with that? Anything further you want to add?
Yeah, I'm happy with that, but a little bit concerned because I would assume that whoever is signing at the institution, these are institutional level, so it's the topmost people or the heads of the institutions who are signing and agreeing, and it's quite concerning that they agree and then later on they backtrack. I mean, it's not an unusual situation, but I really thought you have a very well set out system in Tanzania that you have COSTECH who are enforcing, because when you see the word enforce, that means they have authority. And like in many places, say like in Kenya, where I'm talking from, where really there's no one particular institution that can force others to adhere to a certain policy. Yeah. So I would then want also probably to know then what would be better. Is it the topmost people at the institutions who are most important, or the technical people whom you are dealing with at the technical level who are important? Or what are the roles of these two groups of people? Because the topmost has signed, but it's the technical people who will implement those decisions. Thank you.
Cyril, if I can respond to that.
Yes.
Not all institutions are not abiding to what they have signed. Some of the institutions. And involvement it is not important to involve not only top management, but all personnel who are involved in that process, even the technical or researchers who are involved in biodiversity informatics or biodiversity research or biodiversity issues. They need to be involved. Actually, the signed MOU was the one which initiated or which established the TANBIF, Tanzanian Biodiversity Facility, which is under GBIF. So we'll hear a lot about TANBIF when Hulda will be presenting with Dr. Finian, because he knows the synthesis and he's the one who is dealing with these institutions. So he can share with us the challenges and the strategies that we have laid down to make sure that there is full involvement of these institutions and to enable full accessibility and the sharing of this information and the storage of this biodiversity information in the country. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Florence. I have a quick question. obviously the information system that you're developing is going to be sort of serving all biodiversity data, which I would imagine is potentially quite extensive. Did you have a sort of a prioritization process deciding, which data were high priority versus other, or were you kind of, I mean, we found in our experience that you get some data providers that are really keen and others that are much more reticent. And sometimes you work with the people that are easier to work with first. So I was just curious if you had a sort of a specific approach to getting the data and prioritizing the data sets for mobilizing in the first instance, given it's not just freshwater, if I understood that it's all biodiversity data.
Okay. Actually, initially we aimed to stick to pollinators.
Mm-hmm.
But now, because of the involvement of stakeholders, every stakeholder is aiming to have his part or his field engaged or involved in the portal. As I have mentioned, when we started, we focused on pollination, then Robert came in and now he's involved. And there's so many others like National Museum of Tanzania have been working very closely, supporting them to publish their data on herbarium data, on national, on pollinators, but this they are dealing with the Lepidoptera species, which is part of the pollinators. But we have the National Herbarium, which is based in Arusha, and a Tropical Pesticide Research Institution. They have already pressed their need to have a herbarium field covered in the portal. So we, as I mentioned, we will be keeping upgrading the portal depending on the needs which are coming to us. Yes.
Okay, so it's driven by data providers expressing, a willingness and a need for having their data sets expressed within the system. That sounds good. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Robert or Florence? Jim?
Thanks to both the presenters for sharing your platforms and your progress with us today. Robert, something that you said sparked an interest, and it may be something that several of the groups are actually thinking about or grappling with. And you mentioned this idea of linking biodiversity occurrence data with landscape variables. And I guess it's a way of adding value to data, and with the idea that would be a valuable thing to feed into decision making. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how you thinking maybe of doing that. I'm not sure how far along you are with thinking that through, but yeah, I'd be quite curious about what your vision is for that component of the platform, should it go ahead.
Thank you for your question. Actually, we were planning to begin from a scratch to develop a tool for the analysis. But through attending this series, I came to know that there is some system which are out there ongoing and which can do the task. Especially, I was very much interested with the inwards analysis tool, which was presented by Hugo in some of the previous presentation. So I communicated with him to see if we can collaborate and develop something which can actually be adapted to analyze the freshwater biodiversity information in relation to the landscape features. So Hugo was positive and he said we can discuss this further and see how we can go about it. So that's how that's how I can say about it.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because I was actually going to suggest reaching out, because obviously the Inward system has really been focusing on those links and adding value to the data. Yeah, by connecting the biotic to the abiotic. So it's really great to hear that that's the route you're already going. And yeah, I think that's really taking the data to the next level, and an important area to focus on. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my Zoom, but I can't find the raise hand, so excuse my jumping in. Yeah, Robert, yeah, we're very excited to chat further about it. We've actually submitted a proposal to GIZ that's going to be looking at, kind of EBA, but the ecosystem services and the land use practices that influence on it. And there's also Gordon O'Brien, they've got a project with the WRC that's also looking at, trying to link land use activities and the impact on water, but more specifically also obviously the biodiversity. So, while we may not end up having a completely active role as a part of the team, but we could definitely, chat about that in the coming days, but we could definitely share experiences as we move with those projects as well. So yeah, there's definitely room for collaboration and discussions, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hugo and Robert. Sorry, do you want to respond there, Robert?
I can't. Can you state it? Can you say it again, Ellen?
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah, actually, as Hugo said, we are going to discuss more about the inwards and see the way forward. That's yeah.
Good. That's what's great about these sessions. We learn so much from each other, and maybe stop reinventing wheels through collaborating with groups and individuals that have the experience and the know-how to share. So yeah, once again, I'm really grateful for everybody being part of these sessions. I think certainly I've learned an awful lot going along the road. We've got time for a few more questions. If anyone wants to jump up and down or raise their hand. If the hand doesn't work, just start chatting. No, I think I've asked my main question. Good. So, I mean, I see, unfortunately, Astrid won't be available next week, but I think Florence and Robert, I think perhaps check with your colleagues to see if next Wednesday at 11 suits them for giving us the part 2, which is the technical overview. And I have no doubt there'll be a lot more discussion following that as well. And then, as I said, I'll try and get the main developers from FBIS in on the session too, so that we can also have that conversation around, how the systems could potentially talk to each other if in fact we wanted them to. But I mean, it would always be nice to get the technical side of things. So if there are no more questions, I think let's leave it at that. We'll liaise by email. But thank you so much for sharing with us both of your projects. It's always really good to see what's happening in other parts of Africa. And I've worked quite a bit with Lulu Kaya from the University of Dar es Salaam. She was my PhD student. So I'm hoping that her data will eventually be included. I will give her a nudge. I did invite her to the seminar, but she wasn't able to make it. But I've enjoyed my time in Tanzania, and I would love to see the fruition in September of this year, the system being available for people to use and visualizing your data. So yeah, next week's session will be great.
We'll arrange that. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And Robert, you'll join us again for next session in case there's specifics around, you know, the Rafiji Basin and how it would be integrated. Maybe we'd get a better sense of that once we've seen the technical side of the project
yes, I will.
presented.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. And keep warm if you're in South Africa, and cool if you're in Europe. And I'm not sure how cold or warm it is in Tanzania, but stay well. Keep safe.
Okay, thank you. It's cold in the northern side of Tanzania.
Okay.
That's why I'm sweating, because
I've got about 5 layers on, so it's very cold in Cape Town.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
And thank you to all audience for listening and their
Right.
full participation. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And we'll confirm for next week as soon as I hear back from you, Florence.
I'll make the arrangement.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers all. Thanks so much.